Hey everybody, welcome back to the Nexus, where we spotlight some of our favorite local businesses. Today I have on the show Logan Merrick. He's the owner of Signal Security here in Lincoln. He's an awesome guy. I'm super excited for you to get to know him. So welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem.
It's always good to catch up with you.
Taking time out of your day. I know how hard it is to sneak away, but it's great to spend your lunchtime with you.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. Well, I always like to start the show just with a little bit of your background. Like, how did you get to be doing what you're doing today?
Randomly. So
That's true.
I think, so like when you and I met, I was pastoring, I think, and I was working in construction, doing sales.
Yeah.
And so through networking, you and I connected. But I've been a pastor for 19 years, and we moved here. We're originally from Central Florida, my wife and I, and our kids, and we moved here Saturday was 8 years ago that we moved here, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And so we moved here to start a church, be an entrepreneur. If you didn't know, churches don't just exist. They have to be started by somebody, just like a business does. And so we started a church for college students downtown.
Yeah.
And then through that, I had to be able to support my family. So I did tons of different things. I've done photography, videography, and graphic design. Is kind of where I started. And
Interesting.
then
I didn't know that.
met more people along the way, and
Yeah.
got wrapped up in like construction sales, because I enjoyed like that part of it.
Yeah, you like
to talk to people. Yeah. And then like along the way, like a friend of mine who owns the 48th and O Chick-fil-A, his name is Mike Stice. He's my close friend. He's like, dude, you should try to be a Chick-fil-A owner operator. And
oh my gosh, that's the last thing you need is somebody to tell you that.
So I tried that. I applied for this, a long process. I got to the final interview, and they said, we really like you, but not this time. And so I was like, what am I going to do? And a friend of mine is the head of franchising for Signal, which is a security company that we'll talk about that I own. And he was like, hey, man, we're looking for somebody to run the Lincoln territory and buy that.
Perfect.
And so I was like, okay. And
well, and it brings together a lot of the background. I mean, it's always kind of interesting when you look, in hindsight. It's like, oh, all this sales experience and this construction experience and this people experience. It's like all relevant to what you're doing today.
Yep. So yeah, we've June 1st was a year that I took ownership of it, and so
that went fast.
You're telling me.
Oh man.
And trying to be, a dad and husband and everything else, trying to throw it all together. Trying to run a business and love on your family. It's a lot.
It really just never stops.
Yeah.
But you do it by choice. Like you still choose when you work. You just might still work a ton, just random hours.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's why I got this Fitbit, because I was like, am I getting sleep? Because I feel like I'm not ever getting sleep, so I needed something to track my sleep. Because I'm like, I don't know if I'm getting any sleep or not.
Well, you seem wide awake, so that's good.
Well, I was going to make a joke about cocaine, but I'm not going to do that. Totally kidding.
Color. So. Little side note. Anyway, so tell us a little bit about Signal and the services you guys provide.
So a lot of people think that we do like cameras, security cameras, and we don't do that.
It is a misconception. I made the same mistake.
Yeah.
But they are physical security.
We are physical security, meaning we do security guards. And what makes us different from other competitors is, one, we're a franchise, where all of our competitors are, corporations. Mm-hmm. So I live in your neighborhood, right? Like as an owner, you know me, and so I care about my community, right? Yeah. Whereas my competition, they'll have like regional managers or something like that. But so and then the other thing is like we do patrols. So if you can't afford to have a security guard for your business, then we can do patrols, meaning we come and patrol the outside. If we'll go inside, check on your business if there's specific doors or whatever that need to be checked. We're also looking at, you're not here in the middle of the night, so like, does your building, is the light out in your parking lot? So we need to, we make notes of all those things. We take pictures and we give reports. So every morning you get an email of all the things. And if we had to call the cops, or if there was an alarm going off or something like that, like you get all that in a report.
That'd be really nice.
Yeah. And so, and it timestamps, so you know that we were here. We weren't just like, oh yeah, we were there, and we weren't. So there's accountability there. We have these things called NFC tokens. So a lot of our bigger clients, like Sandhills Publishing is one of our clients, and General Dynamics, are two of our bigger clients. And so we go, and when we're doing rounds, we scan these tokens, and those tokens then have questions. So like if there's a room that's supposed to be a specific temperature, like if you've got a lot of servers or something, we're going to scan that. It's going to ask a bunch of questions. It's going to timestamp, so you know that you're getting regular rotations and guards are paying attention and those types of things.
That's cool.
So yeah, so we do.
I
a lot
can see
of
that being
everything.
like relevant in like food service industry.
Yep, checking trucks,
Yeah.
trucks that are coming in, like we check those, especially if they're refrigerated. So because if not, if like let's say you're like a Kawasaki that has, I don't know if you know this, but Kawasaki has 3 restaurants inside of it because they have because they have so many employees, and so let's just say you get a truck and the truck isn't at the right temperature. 2 things can happen, right? Your people can get sick, which means your labor percentage goes down, right? And then the other thing is like you just bought a bunch of spoiled food.
Right.
And so security should check that as trucks come in, and so we're helping to save you money in the long run of those types of things.
Oh, that's a really interesting use case.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So, yeah.
So what are kind of your ideal clients that you work with?
Yeah, so we do a lot of apartment complexes, specifically because we have a 1-800 number that you can call, your residents can call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, if they see something suspicious or if they don't feel safe or something like that. And
oh my gosh, that's so much better than the main office getting these
the maintenance calls. Yep.
Yeah.
And so we can be there because like if you're gonna call the cops, already the local police is like they're understaffed, right? And so they're dealing with a lot. So we have a great relationship with the Lincoln PD, but we can respond within 15 minutes. It usually takes them about 45 minutes depending on the time of day and what's going on and what, So we can respond within 15 minutes, and then we take care of the situation. Now, if it's a dangerous situation, we're going to try our best to, take care of it, and then we will kind of be that go-between between the cops, But so typically, like apartment complexes are a big one for us for patrol specifically, because the number one reason why people move out of apartments is safety. People are like, oh yeah, well it's moving, like because of your job or whatever. But the number one reason people leave an apartment complex is for safety reasons. Yep. So if you can offer security and they see the security on premises with a vehicle and they see the lights, like there's a sense of safety there that you can upsell as an apartment complex. So apartment complexes are kind of our big one, and then anyone that would just need security on site all the time. So, but our favorite one is the Husker football team, not the stadium, but the team themselves.
Actual team.
Yeah, we get to.
So you ride on the bus?
No, but like they stay in a hotel here in town, and so we're on all the floors, and we get to be with the team when they're eating and stuff like that, and running through game plans the night before. So our guards love that, and everyone is always fighting for those positions.
Totally, they're in the know.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Are they sworn to secrecy?
Yeah, that's funny because so many people are like, hey, who's hurt? Like, people would ask me, like, who's hurt the night before a game? And I'm like, I don't know. So,
you're like, you think I'm giving up this information?
That's
no.
right. Money talks. So, anyway.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, okay, is there any, like, heroic event or something that you guys did to save the world lately?
Yeah, so this is actually a really good one. On Christmas Eve night, 2 of my guards were in the patrol vehicle, and it was about 8 o'clock at night, so still early. And they noticed a car that was like weaving really bad on O Street, and it was a woman, and she was very drunk, and they were able to get her to pull over, and then they were able to talk her out of her keys, and so got her off the road, and then they were able to contact the police, and she was arrested. But the funny thing was she actually thanked them for it, because like she went up on a median, and like it was really bad. So
she could have hurt herself or someone else.
Oh yeah, big time on Christmas Eve. So it's so there's those things, and then like I mean, we've been able to stop burglaries of people's cars in apartment complexes and things like that. So
that's awesome. I mean,
so that's our job.
The real life Spider-Man or whatever.
not me, but the people that work for me do a great job.
That's awesome. So I'm assuming you could always take on more guards because you want to take on more clients.
Always hiring. Because we're always selling and getting getting new clients. If you're interested in going into like law enforcement and things like that, security is a good place to kind of get started as you're going through the process of trying to figure that out. So, but yeah, we're always hiring.
Cool. Well, anyone out there looking for a job, I mean, I think Logan would be a great guy to work for.
Appreciate that.
Okay, well, I always feel like I walk away from conversations with you like having gained like a nugget of information. So what is something that you're like reading lately or something that you've been pondering on?
So there's a couple of different things I've been reading, but like right now I'm reading a book by Os Guinness called Calling, and it's just talking about what is it that you are called to do. Like we're all called to something, right? And it doesn't have to be just from like a religious perspective, like period. Like what are you called to do, and how does that ethic like work its way out in what you do? And so I've just been kind of like going like as you're kind of like he's approaching topics like what is your desires, but then also like how does envy and pride play into those things?
Interesting.
And so typically the thing that you envy about someone else, like even to a detrimental standpoint, is a thing that you can be called to, like because they may have that thing that you're desiring, or they're that person you desire to be. And so it's just kind of an interesting concept. And so
wow, to like kind of take that in, reflect on that, and be like, why would I be envying this?
Yes.
Like,
yes.
What is it
Self-awareness
that I'm craving?
Yes. Yeah. Like why am I so envious of this person right now? Like, and so like he tells these stories, like in the chapter I just read, in regards to the envy piece, he was like talking about composers and how composers, specific composers like Mozart and like others were around at the same time and even lived in the same city but never talked. They didn't like each other, and the whole thing was like they envied one another. Like, yeah. And so
what if they had all come together? Can you imagine the music?
I know, right? And so it's one of those things where I'm like, okay, I don't want to be envious of someone else, but if I am envying that thing, like, am I self-aware to know like, okay, well, there's a reason for that, and then how do I make that more constructive for myself as opposed to being critical or whatever?
Sure.
So yeah,
right. And like having an abundance mindset of like, if they can be that or have that or do that, like I can too. Like how can I bring more of that into the world or whatever? So that's cool.
Yeah.
I knew there'd be something in here that I'd take home.
It's a good book. I highly recommend it. He's actually, so Os Guinness is the great grandson of Guinness beer, alcohol. Like, so he even talks about that, like growing up in a very wealthy family and how people don't think about that just because you grow up in a very like wealthy, because you're always like, oh, poor rich kid, right? Like, and you say it kind of sarcastically, but it's
they're
like
always under that shadow and under the thumb of that, I don't know, it's like expectation or something. And you do see where like kids, like next generations, do kind of have like is it suffering, is it not, like take that platform and do something good with it, which is what he's doing with the book. So it's highly recommend Os Guinness Calling. Cool. I like that. I haven't heard of that one, so I'll look into it. And I always like to ask entrepreneurs, especially like if you have any advice for anyone that's starting a business.
I think the biggest thing is like being gritty is a good thing. Yeah. Like
no one's gonna outwork you.
Yes. Yeah. And just because you come up against something and it's hard doesn't mean it's not worth fighting for. And I'm totally going to jack up the quote from Benjamin Franklin where he's like, so many people like they miss out on good things because work is dressed up in overalls, so it's like if you want something and you desire it, like then you have to work for it, and don't just like because it's hard you're like I'm not going to do this, you know what I mean?
Like that went terribly, and show up again the next day.
That's right. Like be ready to be punched in the face over and over, and sooner or later you will
screw up.
Like
just accept it.
And it you are growing. Adversity is always good, and so like understand that adversity is not a bad thing, and it makes you stronger. And like my son, who's had brain surgery and things like that, he actually made a video about having NF and having a brain tumor, and And one of the things he says at the end as a challenge to people is just like, adversity is not a bad thing, and it's making you stronger. So like, just accept it, right? Like, discomfort is not bad.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I would say learn to be gritty. And if you're not gritty, like, you better get gritty, you know?
Your son sounds really cool. And I didn't know that about your son, but I think that's something that I've always been a big fan of telling people too, you know, like the best parts of your story. Like, you told me your story and it's like just the factual moments of like, I did this job, this job, this job.
Yeah.
But the like good stuff is all in the problems and the pain and the failure, you know, like, okay, didn't work out with the church.
Yep.
What did that turn into for you? You know, like, just kind of like living in that moment of utter disappointment and failure, because like that's the good stuff later.
No one watches a movie where the main character, all good things happen to them. He always gets the girl, right? He's rich, he's famous.
You don't even remember that part. You don't even talk about that part. So
all the good stories all are overcoming adversity.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. Well, I really appreciate you
thanks
coming
for having
in
me
and
on.
Dropping some wisdom on the Nexus viewers. And
well, thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah, well, thanks for tuning in, everybody, and we'll see you in a few weeks.